Okay. So, not too difficult to understand. Now, let's look at what we have. According to the author, companies like Thread UP have not caught in the UK for all the following reasons except, we know that, except people don't really want to put their brand at risk, right? So, luxury brands want to maintain their brand image? Yes. Luxury brands do not like their product to be devalued? Yes. Recycling is currently not financially attractive for luxury brands? Yes, because the person says you need to come up with a cost-effective way of doing it. And the last one, the British don't buy second-hand clothing. No, no, no. It's not that the British don't buy second-hand clothing. The fact is, people who are selling luxury second-hand clothing don't want to do it because they don't want to devalue the brands. But the exception is, it's not that the British don't buy second-hand, they do. So this is the exception. Okay, so 4 is the exception, quite easy. The act of thrifting as described in the passage can be considered ironic because you buy second-hand clothes, but those clothes might actually be environmental problems, right? So it's not cost effective for retailers, that's not the reason. It's ironic because you're doing it because you think you're saving people from throwing things away, you think you're saving the planet, but what is happening is that microfibers can actually in some sense damage the environment. So it's not that it is not cost effective, it's not that it is anti-consumer attitude, it's not that it offers luxury clothing at cut price rate, but it is that it is creating. So the ironic part is you think you're saving the planet, but actually there are some problems being created the way we are currently doing it. So 4 is the answer to 14. What about 15 then? Based on the passage, we can infer that the opposite of fast fashion, slow fashion, would most likely refer to clothes that are slightly not up to date, but are being sold in recycled ways. So is it that we are talking about are sold by genuine vintage stores? No. Are of high quality and long lasting? Exactly. Which means they might not be exactly up to date, but the fact is they will last long and they are high quality. They're not going to actually prompt pollution. That's what he's recommending. No, he's telling people if you're in doubt about what to buy second hand and whether you should buy second hand or not, do remember if you buy stuff that is of good quality and last long, you're not going to be contributing that much to pollution. So which means 2 is a much better answer than just 1. It's not just those sold by vintage stores. It's definitely not those that shed microfibers alone. It's also that they need to be of high quality and last long. It's not that they do not bleed toxins and dyes. I mean, the point is the opposite of fast fashion might contain these elements. The slow fashion might contain these elements, right? But is it that any one of these elements is slow fashion? No. Slow fashion is, it contains all of these things and therefore is of the kind that you really want to keep, and it will not do these things because it would be long lasting. So 2 would be your answer to 15. Okay. The point is, while 3 and 4 are actually characteristics of slow fashion, they don't constitute slow fashion by themselves. Slow fashion is what people would reach out for because they find it to be of high quality and because they believe it will last long and it is still given to them second hand. So that they feel that they are saving money, they feel they are saving the planet, but they are doing it without risk to the planet itself because the high quality of what they are buying. So 2 then is the answer to this question. Now the central idea of the passage would be undermined if, which means the central idea is you can find second hand stuff that is actually of good quality and therefore you can save the planet. But what Primark and what the others are trying to do, that will be undermined if you're saying that's not necessarily the case. Or the other, it can be done in other ways. If you say it can be done in other ways, then I might look at that. So the central idea of the passage, okay. So what's my don't worry about that. So the central idea of the passage would be undermined if Primark and Boohoo recycle their clothes for vintage stores. Yeah, possibly. Because if Primark and Boohoo are claiming to be saving the planet, they could do it if and he says it would be better if you did this rather than go to Primark and Boohoo, right? Let's just go there. He actually says here that right. The second-hand September campaign led by Oxfam seeks to encourage shopping at local organized charities as alternatives to Primark and Boohoo. So if Primark and Boohoo start doing the same thing, then that would mean that Oxfam's let's say campaign might not really be necessary. Okay. So if you look at that, if Primark and Boohoo actually did that, then the central idea of let's have organizations that do that would possibly be undermined. Well, we just hold that there. If customers bought all their clothes online, no, but the central idea is don't buy all your clothes online. Don't buy all your clothes online. So he's actually saying that if you buy your clothes online, what you're doing is you're contributing to pollution. He says buy second-hand clothes. Now, the central idea of the passage would be undermined. No, you have to undermine the passage by saying there's a problem with, I mean, the way you're saying it is not the only way of saving the planet. Basically, he's talking about saving the planet. And he's talking about saving the planet, and you're not saying you can't save the planet. What you're saying is that's not the only way of saving the planet, or it can be done in other ways. So, it can't be true. Second-hand stores sold only high-quality clothes, but that's what he's recommending. He's saying if your second-hand stores sold the high-quality ones, then you would actually be saving the planet. So, that's actually one part of his central idea. So, it's not undermining it. Clothes were not thrown and burned in landfills. Now, if they were not thrown and burnt in landfills, you're still not being saying that they are being bought. This one, if you say clothes were not thrown and burnt in landfills but were being bought in high quality, that would in some sense go with the idea. But if you're saying you want to undermine it and you're saying clothes were not thrown and burnt in landfills, then you still have to tell me that they, in some other way, we are still not impacting on the planet. So, it can't be 2 or 3 or 4, because what these things tell us, 2 says if customers bought their clothes online, then there's no reference to recycled clothes at all. And the central idea is about recycled clothes. If second-hand stores sold only high-quality recycled clothes, that would actually conform to the central idea. It wouldn't undermine it. If clothes were not thrown and burnt in landfills, in some sense that would also mean that you're not, in some sense, loading the landfills with garbage. And to some extent, that also is in supportive of the central idea. Because central idea is let's keep clothes from being thrown into landfills, let's recycle. So, if clothes are not thrown into landfills, that's some part of the central idea itself. So, we'd accept 2, 3, 2 is not irrelevant, we don't need it. 3 and 4 we accept because they are part of the central idea. So, 1, if these guys that you plan to compete against, or these guys that you want to in some sense offer an alternative to, are themselves recycling clothes for vintage stores, right, then the passage is undermined, because you're saying these guys are not actually contributing to, their way of contributing to the planet is not good. But if their way of contributing to the planet is not good, then if they were to start doing what you recommend, then you would actually not have an argument saying that their way of contributing to the planet is not good, which means 1 is what would undermine the passage about the fact that retailers of high fashion are actually in some sense, you need to find alternatives to them. Because the retailers of high fashion themselves are the alternative, then the central idea of the passage is undermined. So, 1 is the answer to 16.